Everyone, and welcome back. We're diving deep today into the mental health challenges that folks face after serving in the U.S. Navy.
Yeah.
We've got a counseling practice website and an informational text we'll be pulling from today.
It's going to be great to see how these two sources kind of work together.
Exactly. One's like a personal story, the other gives us the bigger picture.
Right, exactly.
So let's get right into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
We all know that military service, especially in the Navy, can be really demanding.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that actually mean for someone's mental health?
Well, the informational text we have, it lists out some of the big ones: PTSD, depression, anxiety disorders,
Oh, wow.
and then substance abuse.
Substance abuse.
Yeah.
That one really hit me, you know? It's kind of understandable why someone might turn to substances,
Yeah,
especially when they're dealing with invisible wounds from their service.
makes sense, right? It's a way to kind of numb the pain, escape those memories, and maybe find some control again.
Right.
But then, of course, that can lead to a whole other set of problems.
Absolutely. And it's not just the veterans themselves who are affected.
Right.
It's their families, their relationships, even their job prospects can be impacted.
Yeah, if you're constantly struggling with anxiety or, reliving traumatic experiences, it's incredibly difficult to maintain healthy relationships.
Right.
And even just holding down a job, focusing on everyday things can feel impossible.
Yeah, just getting through the day-to-day.
Exactly.
And it's so important for all of us to really get this, even if we don't have direct experience with the military ourselves.
Yeah.
It helps us build empathy and understanding, which is so crucial for supporting veterans.
Absolutely.
Now, our counseling practice website introduces us to Tiffany Wynn.
Okay.
She's a therapist who's doing some really cool work in this area.
And what's really interesting about her is her background. She's a Navy veteran herself,
Wow.
a mother of 5 in a blended family, and she's been happily married for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
So she has such a unique understanding of the challenges that veterans and their families face.
Yeah, it's like she's not just talking the talk, she's
Ah.
walking the walk, too.
Exactly.
And she specializes in 2 types of therapy that really stood out to me. Emotionally focused therapy, and then eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
Wow, those are mouthful.
Yeah, could you break those down for us a little?
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
EFT focuses on strengthening bonds within relationships,
Yeah.
which, as we've talked about,
All right.
can be really strained by these mental health challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So, imagine a couple where one partner is dealing with PTSD.
Right.
EFT can help them understand and navigate their emotions so they can rebuild that trust and intimacy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And what about EMDR? That sounds pretty high-tech.
It does have a technical name, but the concept is actually pretty simple.
Okay.
So it uses specific eye movements or other forms of bilateral stimulation to help individuals process traumatic memories.
So like tapping or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And this can really reduce the intensity of flashbacks, nightmares, and anxiety.
Oh, wow.
It's almost like rewiring the brain's response to trauma.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So for our listeners, this means finding a therapist who gets the specific challenges of military life
Yes,
and uses the right kind of therapy for them is super important.
absolutely. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Definitely not.
But there's good news because there's a whole network of support out there beyond just traditional therapy.
Okay.
Our informational text mentions organizations like the VA Military OneSource and the Fleet and Family Support Centers.
Oh, yeah. FFSC.
These organizations go above and beyond, offering all kinds of services.
I was actually really surprised to learn that Military OneSource is available 24/7.
Really?
Yeah, by phone and live chat.
Wow.
That kind of immediate access can be life-changing for someone in a crisis.
Yeah, for sure.
And it sends a powerful message that you're not alone.
Absolutely.
There are people ready to help right now, no matter what you're going through.
That's so important.
Now, we've been focusing a lot on the challenges, but let's shift gears for a minute. What are some of the unique things these organizations offer that you might not find in a typical therapy setting?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
One thing is they really get the military culture.
Right.
They have staff who are veterans themselves, or they've worked with the military community for a long time,
Oh, wow.
so they can provide that culturally competent care.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's like speaking the same language,
Exactly.
understanding those little things about military life.
Mm-hmm.
It can really build trust.
Yeah, definitely.
So beyond that, what kind of specialized programs or services do they have that you wouldn't find in just a regular therapy setting?
Okay, well, the VA, for example, they have programs just for PTSD, substance abuse, traumatic brain injury.
Oh, wow.
They even have vocational rehab programs
Oh, cool.
to help veterans get back into the workforce.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And what about military OneSource and the FFSC? What sets them apart?
So Military OneSource is a fantastic resource for anyone on active duty National Guard Reserve.
Okay.
And their families, too.
Yeah. Wow.
They offer everything from confidential counseling to financial help to even help with finding childcare.
Wow. That's a lot.
It is.
And it's all free.
All free.
That's incredible. So many veterans struggle financially after leaving the service.
Yeah,
This could be a game changer.
it really could.
And then there's the FFSC.
Right, the Fleet and Family Support Centers.
Yeah.
They're located right on military installations all over the world.
Oh, wow. That's convenient.
They provide individual and family counseling, stress management workshops, even deployment support.
So it's really a whole person approach.
Exactly.
Not just treating symptoms, but
Right.
looking at the whole picture,
Mm-hmm.
the veteran's overall well-being.
Absolutely.
I think that's a really important takeaway for our listener.
Yeah.
Whether you're a veteran or you know someone who is,
Mm-hmm.
know that there is support out there ready
Right.
to meet you where you're at.
Exactly.
So we've talked about the challenges,
Right.
the impact on families,
Mm-hmm.
and this incredible network of support.
Yeah. Now let's get into those specific mental health challenges a little deeper.
Okay.
PTSD, depression, anxiety.
Yeah,
These are some serious issues.
they are, and they can show up in so many different ways,
Right.
which makes it even harder to recognize and deal with.
Yeah, definitely. Let's start with PTSD.
Okay.
It seems like that's the one most people have heard of.
It is, but, it's important to remember that PTSD isn't always about combat trauma.
Right.
It can come from any event that causes really intense fear, helplessness, or horror.
Oh, wow.
And in the Navy, that could be anything from almost drowning to a fire on the ship
Oh, gosh.
to even witnessing a terrible accident.
Yeah, it's not just what you experience, but how your mind processes it.
Exactly.
And for some people, those memories can get stuck
Yeah.
and lead to flashbacks, nightmares, and constant anxiety.
And the symptoms can be all over the place.
Oh, really?
Yeah, some people withdraw and isolate themselves.
Right.
Others might be easily startled or have anger outbursts.
It really depends on the person and what they went through.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
And this is where those specialized therapies like EMDR can be so helpful.
absolutely.
They provide a safe space to process those traumatic memories,
Right.
which can really dial down the intensity of the symptoms.
It's actually pretty fascinating how EMDR works.
Yeah, how does it work?
So it uses bilateral stimulation, which can be eye movements or tapping on different sides of the body.
Okay.
And that helps desensitize the person to the trauma.
Like it's rewiring their brain.
Exactly.
So it's not about erasing the memories, but changing how they affect you now.
Exactly. And what's great is that EMDR can be used along with other types of therapy.
Oh, cool.
Like you might use EMDR for the trauma itself.
Right.
And then use EFT to work on rebuilding trust in relationships that were hurt by the PTSD.
So it's about finding the right combination,
Yeah,
using different tools for different parts of the problem.
exactly. But PTSD isn't the only challenge.
Right.
Depression is really common too.
What do you think contributes to that?
Well, imagine going from the military to civilian life.
Yeah.
You go from this really structured environment with a clear purpose and strong bonds to a world that can feel chaotic and lonely.
Right. It's a huge adjustment.
It is, and there's often a sense of losing your identity, your community, even your sense of purpose.
It's like losing a part of yourself.
It can feel that way.
And then you add in things like physical injuries, the struggle to find a job that uses your skills,
Yeah.
and the stigma around mental health.
It's a lot to deal with.
It is.
It's no wonder depression is so common among veterans.
It's like all these factors coming together at once,
That's why.
making it really hard to adjust and find your place.
Yeah,
And then there's anxiety, which often comes along with the depression and PTSD.
right. Anxiety can show up in a lot of ways.
Like how?
Some veterans might have panic attacks, while others have this general anxiety that makes it hard to relax and enjoy things. And then there's social anxiety,
Right.
which makes it tough to connect with people and build new relationships.
It's like your body is always on high alert,
Exactly. Always on edge.
even when there's no real danger.
Right. That hypervigilance can be exhausting,
Yeah.
mentally and physically.
Yeah.
It can mess with your sleep, your focus, your ability to just be present.
And we can't forget about substance abuse,
Right.
which we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
It's often a way to cope with those feelings of anxiety, depression, and trauma.
It is. It's a way to numb the pain, escape those memories, try to quiet the racing thoughts.
Right.
But in the long run, it just creates more problems.
Yeah, it doesn't really solve anything.
It doesn't, it can damage relationships, lead to legal trouble, and even make your mental and physical health worse.
It's a tough cycle to break out of.
It is. But there is help out there.
That's good to hear.
Whether it's through the VA military OneSource, a private therapist, or a support group, veterans don't have to go through this alone. There are people who understand and want to help them heal.
And there are so many stories of veterans who have faced these challenges and come out stronger on the other side.
Absolutely.
They've learned to manage their symptoms, built strong relationships, and found new meaning and purpose in their lives.
Those stories of resilience are so important.
They are.
They give hope to others who might be struggling.
Right.
They remind us that recovery is possible.
Yeah, that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Exactly.
So that brings us to a really important question.
Okay.
What can we as individuals and as a society do to better support our veterans?
That's the question we'll tackle in the final part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. We've been talking about the ups and downs of veteran mental health.
Yeah.
The unique challenges they face and all the incredible support that's out there.
Absolutely.
But now let's flip the script a bit.
Good.
What can we actually do to make a real difference in the lives of veterans?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
We can have all the knowledge in the world,
Mm-hmm.
but if we don't act on it, it's meaningless.
Right.
So let's brainstorm some concrete steps we could take to support veterans' mental health.
You know, something that really struck me was how both our sources kind of dance around this idea of breaking down the stigma around mental health.
Right.
It's not explicitly stated, but it's definitely woven throughout.
Yeah, I see that.
Seeking help is not a weakness, it's a strength.
Absolutely.
And that's a message we need to shout from the rooftops.
We need a total culture shift where veterans feel like they can talk about their struggles
Right.
and know that they're going to be met with compassion, not judgment.
And that starts with education, right?
Yeah.
The more we understand about PTSD, depression, and everything else veterans go through, the better we'll be at recognizing the signs and offering support.
And that takes me back to Tiffany Wynn.
Oh, yeah. The therapist.
Therapists like her are so important.
Yeah.
But those therapies only work if veterans feel safe enough to reach out in the first place.
It's all connected, isn't it?
It really is.
We've talked about the VA military OneSource and the FFSC, but they can't do it alone.
Nope.
How can we support these organizations?
Well, support comes in many forms, right?
Yeah.
We can volunteer our time at VA hospitals or other veteran support organizations.
Okay.
Donations are always needed for charities that focus on mental health services. And we can even advocate for policies that make it easier for veterans to get the care they need.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes we forget about the power of simple gestures.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Just listening to a veteran's story, offering words of encouragement, expressing our gratitude for their service.
Those small acts of kindness can mean the world.
Exactly.
And don't forget, a lot of veterans face a tough transition back to civilian life.
Right.
They might struggle to find jobs that utilize their skills.
Right.
Or feel disconnected from their communities.
That's a huge hurdle.
We can help by being mindful of their experiences.
Yeah. Like how?
Connecting veterans with job opportunities, mentorship programs, or social groups that cater to their needs.
Okay.
And we can't forget about their families either.
Oh, that's so important.
We've talked about how mental health challenges affect everyone in the veteran circle. Supporting families means recognizing their sacrifices.
Right.
And giving them the resources they need to navigate the ups and downs of military life.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's a final thought for you to chew on.
Okay, I'm listening.
Supporting veteran mental health isn't just about charity.
Okay.
It's about investing in the well-being of our entire nation.
That's a powerful way to put it.
It is.
When we support veterans, we're not just helping individuals heal. We're strengthening families, communities, and ultimately our society as a whole.
It's a ripple effect.
It is.
And it all starts with recognizing that their service doesn't end when they take off the uniform.
Right.
Our responsibility to support them continues long after they come home.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, this is great.
We hope you've learned more about the challenges faced by U.S. Navy veterans, the amazing resources that are available, and most importantly, how you can be a part of the solution.
Absolutely.
Remember, knowledge is power, and even the smallest actions can create a wave of positive change.
That's true.
So let's all do our part to make sure our veterans feel supported, valued, and empowered to thrive.
Couldn't agree more.